We'll do a work order, maybe a bid specification, maybe a purchase order, and from those examples I think you'll be able to draw equations to other ways that you could use the transmittal generator. So to kick it off, first off, to create a transmittal in Adept, I can just go to the File New command. The transmittal option will enable users to pick which template they're going to be using. So again, this could be for several different styles or maybe different cover letters, different formats that you might use. Now I'm going to go in and create a very simple transmittal, and I'm going to use the auto naming generator to give my transmittal a consistent name. And these naming conventions can be completely configurable by you folks. This is just one example. And this will create a brand new letter of transmittal using this template with this file name, and it's going to place it in my work area. There's also an option down here to create 2 or 3 or 5 or 100 of them. I wouldn't recommend creating 100, but you could do that very, very easily here. And it'll number them sequentially. This is also a great tool, not only the transmittal option, but the document option to create new CAD files or any other groups of documents and be able to create multiples very, very quickly. Now, this transmittal is a PDF, and all the editing is done from within a dialog box. So very simply, I can go in and select a certain company's name. It'll fill in all the address information for that. And so essentially by picking this, it'll fill several other fields. What those fields are, completely up to you folks. I can go in and assign this to somebody or give a contact name. I can also create a distribution list, so this might be 10, 20, 100 different people. Now, there's some other fields on here. I've got some configurable fields. Now, a little bit later on when I show you work orders and purchase orders and some of the other different document types, you'll notice that this screen is completely different for those types of documents. Different information is required on the cover letter. So this is all configurable. So very simply, I can put in a mark, please review. I can put in a return by date. How am I going to ship these documents? You may or may not choose to include a copy of these documents in the email with the transmittal cover letter. You may decide, well, our email doesn't allow us to put that much information in an email, that many drawings. So I'm going to have to put them on an FTP site or print them out or whatever. Again, this is just an example of a pull down that can be presented to whoever's creating it. I also created a bunch of reason codes. So our company has codes that match up with what is the reason for this transmittal. Again, all completely configurable. So if we take a peek at this, we'll be able to see that it's already put in who it's being sent to, who's the attention to. It knows that it's going to be emailed to this person. It knows Bonnie's email address. I don't have any files listed in my transmittal yet. We'll get to that next. But this is a very fast way of being able to create those. So the next thing I might want to do is attach some documents. Very simply right-click, select attachments, and now I can go and hunt for files. I can use any of my searching and sorting methods in Adept. I can search using a library card. I can say I just want a specific project number, everything that has that at the beginning. Here they are all listed. I don't have to go into different folders and find each of them. Maybe I want to do just these 3 right here. So I can pick and choose and attach and unattach files. I can remove them if I've decided I errantly selected them. And this will go and create a relationship between that cover letter and those documents. And we show a yellow icon with a red T so that you know it's a transmittal or transmitted relationship between those documents. At this point, I might sign it in. And now when I'm creating files in my work area, they're really just for me. When I sign them in, then I'm sharing them with others. And I'm choosing what folder I'm going to sign it into. And this may begin a workflow process. So that transmittal may have to be approved by somebody before it can be sent out. And I'll show you an example of that a little bit later on. But right now, there's no workflow. It's not being reviewed by anybody. And because of that, I have the option to send it out. But if it was being reviewed in a workflow, I can lock it down so it can't be sent out in an email until it's approved by somebody. When you send a transmittal, there's a whole host of different options. You can type in a comment or a subject. Excuse me. And as you can see, I'm not good at talking and typing at the same time. I can decide here, do I just want to send the transmittal cover letter? And I apologize, I forgot to show you the file list inside the transmittal. I'll show you that right after. So I may be just sending them a cover letter, the transmittal PDF by itself with a file list, but putting these files on an FTP site or Dropbox or Buzzsaw or whatever method you might be using to share your files. Or I could send them an Adept link. Perhaps you're using Adept to share your files. So rather than sending out copies of all these in the email it's going to be just a small Adept link, and when somebody clicks on it, they'll be brought to the transmittal and they'll be able to see all the related documents via Adept, whether that's the desktop or whether that's the web client. Or I could say these all fit in email. I'm looking at the size here. I'm under my allotted email limitation. I am going to include the documents. There's also the option to zip them all up to save on some space. There's also an option to ask the Adept viewer to open each of these drawings individually and save them as a PDF and send the PDF in email in place of the actual drawing file. Now, I know I'm using AutoCAD drawings, but please keep in mind, whether we're talking SolidWorks, Inventor, MicroStation, any documents could be listed here, not just drawings. Whatever you end up choosing, when you hit send, Adept will then publish the documents if necessary or copy them into the email. It'll get it all ready, and then it'll open up the email for you. And then you can customize the message on the email, and I apologize, I forgot to start my email up there earlier. Now, meanwhile, thank you. So now I can personalize this and I can send it off to Bonnie. It's also going to Bob, Bonnie, and Tina. So now I've sent this off. Now let's play the scenario out. 3 months, 6 months, a year goes by, and somebody says, somebody gets a call from Bonnie that says, hey, I think I got the wrong files a while back. Anybody in Adept that has searching ability will be able to go and say, show me all the transmittals that were sent to Bonnie, and they can click on this audit trail, and they'll see exactly who created the transmittal, when they created it, what files, exactly what versions of what files did they send out with it, and who was it emailed out to. So the audit trail is keeping track of everything that happens to those transmittals until after they're sent out. All right, so that's the transmittal generator as it was initially designed. Fortunate for us, we've got very, very inventive customers, and they've started using the transmittal generator to create many, many other types of documents, whether they're change notices, manufacturing instructions, sales orders, bid specifications, purchase orders, work orders, any of those. Very simply, the concept is, I want a cover letter with a list of files, and I'd like to send that out to somebody and be able to keep track that I sent it out and when I sent it out and who I sent it out to. And by the way, I did forget to show you this. We'll view this file here, and we'll look at the file listings. Now, in this example of a transmittal, this is really just an example. Please keep in mind, you folks are going to be able to design your own graphics, your own alignment of fields of information, what fields you want to see. In this example, I chose the document name, the revision, the project name, what discipline it was, and who it was drawn by. You'll be able to choose whatever fields you want, and you'll see some different ones as we get further into it. And you can also design the footers, the headers, and all the other information that you're seeing on here. Now, the next one I wanted to create is a work order. So in this scenario, let's say for whatever reason the heat has died in the accounting room. For our facility management folks, this work order is a very common practice. So somebody might come into Adept and say, oh, I want to create a new work order. Again, you can use a file naming convention. Maybe you'd like all of your work orders not your vacation request forms, your work orders to begin with WO dash, and then have Adept assign it the next available number. Again, this is just an example. This will create now a brand new work order based on this template in my work area. I can now edit the transmittal. And again, I might have who I'm assigning this to, the company, who's going to do the work, or maybe this is a group leader, and they're in charge of assigning those work orders. Some of these fields, now you can see the data is very, very different in here. This is for repair, and I want it done by Friday afternoon. So this will now go and push that information, and you can see it's a little bit different. It has some check boxes that people can check off in the dialog box interface. But very similarly, after I finish adding that information, I can then say, you know, this work order is related to a certain piece of equipment that we have. So I want to attach this, and the equipment, I think we've got some Binford. Yep, we've got some, here's the manual for it, here's the picture of it, and here's the warranty on it. So the idea is that I'm asking somebody to go and fix this, but I want them to have the documents that they need in order to do the job. And again, I can sign this in. Now, for the work orders, you may have a workflow. There may be a process. In other words, not anybody can just start creating work orders and they go right to somebody to have the work done. In this example, what's going to happen is it's going to send off an email notification letting the logistics person or the maintenance person know that, hey, this work order has been requested, but it has to be approved by logistics first before it then is assigned to a maintenance person. So you can set up a process, and this can be reviewed by that maintenance, the logistics group. They might come in and say, okay, we approve it. We'll type in some kind of a comment. Please fix as soon as possible. They are cold. So very simply, this will record now that Adam says, please fix this, they're cold, and now it's in, and it can be assigned to somebody to actually do work. They may also go and assign it to an individual person. Maybe we want Chris to work on this. And now everybody can see that it's assigned to Chris, and Chris can get an email notification with a small link that'll bring them right to that work order. Chris may also just start his day in his inbox when he comes in, and he can see all the different work orders that have been assigned to him, or files that have been assigned to him for him to work on. This actually makes for a great starting point for your day, is your inbox. All right, so that was work order. Next one on our list is, let's go with a bid specification. So I'm going to switch hats. Now I'm a manufacturer. Sorry, one other thing I wanted to show you. You can also use file guide views. Maybe I want to see all the work orders that have been assigned by a certain person. Here are all the ones that have been assigned by Chris. Here are all the ones that have been assigned by Russ. If I want to narrow those down, the next level is what status are they? Oh, here are the completed ones. Here are the ones that are in progress. Here are the ones that have been received but haven't begun progress yet. Or maybe I want to see them a little differently. Order them by their status first. Show me all the ones that are in progress, whoever's assigned them. And keep in mind, you can also be setting up different column sets. Maybe you've got these columns that you want to see when you're working with work orders, because right away it shows you what the status is, who it was assigned by, and what the manufacturer is. Okay, so that was work order. Sorry, I almost missed that piece. So bid specification. We are thinking about making a new design, and we outsourced this before to a certain manufacturer. And if we go looking for that file, we can go right down to the location. Whoops. And it's a lot like this one right here, but it's going to be a little bit different. I want to send this out for bid. So the first thing I might do is view the file. Now keep in mind the viewer enables all of your users to mark up, if they have the rights, right from within here without editing the actual file. So I don't need this CAD software to be able to send these out for bid. I might decide, okay, I want to make some comments on this though. It is a little bit different. So I'm going to go in and put in a little note. I want newer version of these. And I also don't want, let me zoom back here. I don't want any of these. We've got enough of those in inventory. Don't need. So I can mark this up, and then I can convert this or save it as a PDF. I might want to send out this PDF along with my bid selection, or excuse me, my bid specification. So this will use the Adept viewing to go and convert that to a PDF file format. And if I did this properly, it should place it. It should have placed it in my work area. I apologize. I'll use one that I created earlier. So here it is right here. So when I create a new bid specification, and in this case, I'll pick the template. There also might be a naming convention. Maybe it doesn't ask anybody for anything. It just gives it a next available name. So in this example, I want to still edit this, and I know it doesn't say bid specification here. It says Transmittal, but I think you guys are getting the idea here. So I want to send this out to FabCorp, and I'd like to send it out to Tom. And I have a few different fields in here. I'd like it returned by the 15th. And in this example, I'm going to attach the PDF rather than the actual design. There's no need for me to send the design. This has all the information that they're going to need. And then I can also attach other supporting documents if I wish. And you'll notice this one will look a little bit different. Similar, but again, a little bit different. And now I can send this off when I sign this in. Maybe our bid selections do not have a review process, so I can just sign it in, and then I can send it off to a specific company. I've also seen some of our customers with documents that have the date on them, the due date. They'll use that as a sorting tool as well. They might have due date as a column set, so they can sort all their bids, which ones are due back and when. So that's the bid specification process, and I think you get the idea of sending that out in the email, what the different options are. You just saw that a little while ago. The next one I want to hit on is a purchase order. So here's the situation. When we want to create a purchase order for some new parts, we've got a couple different parts that we want to purchase. In our group, in order to do that, it has to be approved by the manufacturing group first. They get to say, no, we don't want to send this out for purchase. We can make it in-house. Or they may say, yes, we don't have time for it. Let's send it out with a purchase order. Go ahead and buy them. It may also have to be approved by purchasing afterwards. So the scenario is very similar. In this case, I want to create a new document. In this case, it's going to be a purchase order. Here, too, I may have a naming convention for that particular document. And in this case, I had a user input number. This could be a project number. It could be a PO number that came from another system. This naming convention is just one example. This will create that purchase order in my work area, just like the other documents. And I can say I would like it related to this PDF right here. Now, if we take a peek at this purchase order, you can see this format is very different, very simplified. There's not a lot of information in here. I could have typed in more actually in the dialog box, but the idea is really you get to create these formats. Adept comes with a form designer as part of the software. It's a real simple drag and drop interface to arrange the fields that you want, and what colors, and will they be bold and or red and that kind of stuff. So you get to design those. So those were a couple examples of these being used. I'm going to show you just a tiny bit behind the scenes. I don't want to go too deep on this, but I want to show you how easy it is to design these different things. Here's where I can create different tables or fields that are going to show up on the transmittals once I'm designing them. Some of these might be just logical, yes, no, on, off, true, false. Some of these might be a list. So when they pick the manufacturer pull down, they can only pick from these. These are the only approved manufacturers that we want people to pick from. There's also the ability to go in and manage the different templates. So if you've got several different templates, we were just looking at a purchase order, or actually I'm going to do a work order. Well, let's take a peek at that. I can copy it to create a new style, but in this case I'm going to go right into the editor, and this is what it looks like. For those of you that haven't used a form designer before, it's really straightforward. You find the field or the piece of information. I want the customer PO number, and I'd like that to show up right about here. And then I can put some text next to it and highlight it and things like that. So it's very simple to create and manage these. Okay, I am going to exit out of here, and we very much want this to be interactive. So I'm going to open up the questions area, and bear with me for a moment, and I'm going to try to ask a couple of the questions that have been typed in. If you have any, please don't hesitate to type them in. So Paula, thank you for your question. Hey, Paula, is there a way to attach comments from the reviewer to the document or some other document associated with the drawings? So if the reviewer is using Adept, whether it's the desktop or the web client, absolutely. If they're not using Adept, there's no way to have their comments, have them type in their comments. They may reply to you, and you may cut and paste their comments into a field in your documents, or document or group of documents yourself, but that's manual. Another reason that having the web clients for people that are participating would be really important. Very good question. Somebody, let's see here, James asked, is there a way to tie in QuickBooks Enterprise into Transmittals? Good question, James. So we get asked to tie in the Transmittals with a lot of other applications, whether it's QuickBooks, whether it's some other ERP, MRP system, SharePoint. We get asked to customize Adept like that on a regular basis. It would be a customization, James. We're ready, willing, and able to help you do that. And there's going to be a few different options. How often do you want it to be looking at that QuickBooks information? Or is that QuickBooks information being pumped out to a watched folder that Adept can just look at and read that information in each time? So there's lots of different variables. But yes, we can do it. I do want to stress, though, it's not out of the box. Let's see here. Jean asked, is there, let's see here, how do you create a template? It's actually in the same location as, let me come back here, the same place that you edit one of your existing ones. You can also say copy an existing one, or you can say just create a brand new one. Type in the name and hit new, and you'll start from scratch. I'm a big fan of building from a prior one if you can, but if not, starting from scratch is fine. Let's see here. Glenn asked, on a PO, there are multiple parts. these items need a field that says how many and prices. Can this be done? Yes, good question. It absolutely can be done. So we just did one example of just listing them, but you may have noticed, let me come back to a different one here. And actually, I don't think I have it in this one, unfortunately, but you could have a field for counts. You could also associate not just the drawing. So let me do one at a time here. So one of these could be count if they're different individual parts. The other thing that I've seen customers do is not only do they attach the drawings, but one of the attached documents is the bill of materials that has all of that information in it. So there's a couple ways that you could do that. And Glenn, I hope I answered that one. And by the way, folks, if I did not answer a question appropriately, please don't hesitate to type it in again or a little bit differently. Tom asked, in what version of Adept is this available? Just 2014? No, believe it or not, Transmittal Generator has been around for a long time. Initially, this was created as a custom program for one of our customers many years ago. We had several other customers ask for it. They purchased it as an add-on or plug-in for Adept. And then about, I want to say, 3 to 4 years ago, we made it part of the core product. So if you're using Adept right now, more than likely you have this already available. We keep updating it. It's probably one of our higher requested feature enhancements area has been the Transmittal generator. It's getting way more use than we initially anticipated, which is great. It's wonderful. And so it's being asked to be improved and added to on a regular basis. I hope I answered that one okay, Tom. Rob. Sorry I missed how you set up the templates. Could you give a quick overview of getting into that again, please? Yes, I will do that, Rob. Let's see here. And Rob, if you don't mind, I'm going to do that a little bit later towards the end. I want to see if I can hit on a few more questions here while we're doing this. Are these documents considered legal or purposes of any litigations? Good question, Paul. Yeah, because of the audit trail keeping track of everything that happens to those, these very, very well could be considered legal documents. They are under restrictive care in your Adept environment. So yeah, they could be considered legal binding documents. Let's see here. John had asked, can inventor assembly bill of materials be extracted to a transmittal? You can extract a bill of materials from your assembly either from Inventor and save that as a file, or in Adept you can use the bill of materials feature if that one suits you better, and that can create an Excel spreadsheet. It can also create an XML file or a comma delimited file or something like that. Any of those are options, and then you can associate the file that you output with your transmittal. James asked, after you create your forms, how would the metadata that you're capturing in that form be stored, and could it be exported to Excel? Good question, James. Folks, bear with me. I'm going to try to minimize this go-to stuff here and come back. And I would like the questions. Here we go. Sorry, I'm having a little challenge seeing the questions as well as there we go. I know you folks don't see me doing anything other than moving my mouse around a lot, but I'm actually moving the questions around. All right, so how can that data be exported? So first off, any of your transmittals, you can have metadata associated with those. Now, this isn't a great example. I think you'll get the idea. But you could have all of the information or different fields of information that are showing up on your transmittals be fields of data that's being tracked in Adept. So if it's a work order, I might have, let's see if I've got a little better example here. There's a little more, but I think you'll get the idea. So all of this is data that's being tracked with those transmittals. because that's data that's being tracked, at any time you can get a list of files, select those files, and say, I'd like to export this out as an Excel spreadsheet, and you can pick and choose what fields you want to be showing up on your Excel spreadsheet. And once you've selected these fields once, the next time you come into export, the ones that you selected will be there and ready to go. So this is typically something you'll set up once or twice. All right, the next question. So each line can have a different count. Does it have the capabilities to run totals as an Excel or an Access database? That's a good question, Glenn. I'm not sure about that. I'd have to dig a little bit deeper on that form generator to see if I could add fields that are totals from others. Good question. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Michael asked, how do you send the transmittal to FTP? So what many of our customers do, when they create a transmittal, they send out the transmittal by itself. They don't send copies of the files. What they do is right before they email out that transmittal, they come down to this list of children and they say, okay, I want to copy these out or sign them out. And they have a work area that is pointing at their FTP location. So they can just grab those files and drag and drop them, whether it's Dropbox, an FTP folder, or Buzzsaw. These are just pointers. Your work areas are really just pointing to a folder in a certain location, and that could be an FTP location. So what I see some customers do is they'll grab them, drag and drop them into their FTP work area, and sign them out. That way they know that vendor is working on them, or looking at them, or reviewing them, or something along those lines. Michael, I hope that answered. Dale, how do you find the version of documents that are attached to a transmittal if the document has been versioned several times since that transmittal? Very good question, Dale. So anytime you select a transmittal, down here you can see the children. And you'll notice I've actually got mine set to float. But you could have this particular folder, the behaviors, set to fixed or locked down. And I could also manually do this. I could come in and say, okay, I know these are going to update in the future. Let's fix all these. So you can see now we show a pin down or a thumbtack pointing down. That means that those, and a little red arrow, that means that even if these update in the future, anytime I go looking at this transmittal, I'm looking at the exact version that went out with that transmittal, not the newer versions. So that is an option that you can set up in Adept. And I hope that answered that question, Dale. All right, I'm going to backtrack. Thank you, Dale. I'm going to backtrack to Rob. So how do you edit or set up those templates? So very quickly, if I come in here, this Transmittal Template Manager is where I can manage and edit those. I can type in a brand new template name right in here, hit new, or I can pick an existing one and edit it, or I can use an existing one and copy it and give it a new name to create a brand new template. But all that editing is done from within this Transmittal Template Editor. Very good. Let's see if we've got any other questions. I think we're running to the end of them. And if you're going to type in another question, please do. That's fine. I'm going to mention a couple things. So this was the first in our Work Like a Pro webcast series. We're going to be doing a couple other ones. We'll send out notifications. Russ Reese might be doing one or two. I might be doing one or two. We're going to be focusing on things like better ways of searching for files. Something that we notice when we go to visit a lot of our customers is that they're using some or one or two of the searching methods, and they've been using them since they've had Adept in place, and they haven't explored anywhere else to see if there's easier or faster ways of searching. That's just one example. We're going to do one on Publish Wave and all the different ways that Publish Wave can be used. So keep an eye open for notifications about some upcoming Work Like a Pro webcast series. Let's see here. Can you show how the counts field works in the editor? How the counts field works in the editor. Glenn, I'm not 100% sure I understand what you mean by that. I don't actually know how that would be used. I'd really have to do some research and figure out, for example, can I put in here underneath one of the file listings, can I put in a field called count and or totals? But it's really just find the field over on the left. It won't be in the company. It will be under files. And I'm not sure if I've got count in here. No, I don't. But if, for the sake of discussion, let's say that this was the count field, how many of them, I would just drag and drop that and place it where I want it in here. And then move it around and put words above it and that kind of stuff. I'd actually put it more likely down here. No, I can't get at that one. But anyway, that's how I would do it. I would go and find that field, and then I would insert it wherever I want it. And Dale asked, so on the editor, the field list is a drag and drop of the database fields. Yes. So these are database fields from about your files. So the count would be one of the ones about the actual files, the listing of files. But you also have one that is unique, a list of data fields that are unique to your transmittals, the top part of the transmittal, more than likely. You also have fields of information about the company that you're sending it to, their address. Let me move that up a little bit further. So there's different database tables that you can pull from to create your fields. And there's also the ability just to put in general text and graphics and things like that. Let's see here. Michael also asked, actually, let me back up one, Michael. James asked, will these webinars be available to us online afterwards if we want other employees to watch that were not available to attend today? Good question, James. Thank you for asking that. Yes, we are going to record each of these, and we will make them available as soon as we can produce them. We'll make them available up on our customer portal for all of our customers. Michael asked, how would I place the files in a zip file first and then push the zip file to the FTP site? I use the transmittal number as the zip file name to keep things straight. That's a good idea, Michael. So how would you do that? I would say use the send to feature. Bear with me. I updated my changes, so it's saving. Okay. I would go in and grab my files like this, and I would do a send to, and I would send them to a file, a zip file. You can even put a password on it, and you could say, I don't want to email that zip file. I want to create that zip file, and I want it placed in this work area, or I want it placed in a different folder, or wherever you want. So that send to can send not only emails, but it can also create a zip file out of the files you selected. Glad you like that one. Yep, very useful. Keep in mind the send to ability for a user is an option. So you can give some users the right to right-click on files and do a send to, and other users not. Let's see here, and I think that's it. Folks, if you didn't get a chance to ask your question, I apologize, or if you think of it afterwards, I would hope that you would still contact us. Don't let the question die on the vine. The whole purpose of these sessions is we want you to get the most you possibly can out of Adept. We want customers feeling like they're doing their jobs easier and have more tools to make that easier. So, on behalf of everybody here at Synergis, please know that we thank you for your time, your interest, as well as being customers. For those non-customers, I hope this was also informative. I know we didn't cover any basics of Adept, but maybe you got to see a little bit more than you had in one of our prior presentations. Everybody have a great day. Thank you again for your time, and we'll see you again soon.